Listen closely. Traditional warfare died yesterday, and the world hasn't even noticed the funeral. While everyone is glued to the fiery missile strikes over Tehran, a far more lethal digital executioner has been unleashed. The war you see is fake, the real collapse is already happening. We are witnessing the strategic activation of the Magyar Swarm in Ukraine, a relentless AI protocol that just vaporized 150,000 targets with surgical precision. 150,000 targets gone overnight. This changes everything. Iran isn't losing to missiles, it's losing to something worse. But here is the chilling connection the mainstream media misses. As Iran's leadership hides underground like cornered rats, they aren't just dodging bombs. They are watching their power evaporate as the US activates a financial execution protocol, turning 2.5 quadrillion rials into worthless ash. The real question is, can a regime built on blood and fear survive when its banks are empty and its skies are filled with 11,000 robotic hunters every single day? Stay tuned, because the final reckoning of the mullahs is no longer a prediction, it's a countdown. And it's happening in the next 24 hours. For years, the Iranian regime survived by pouring wealth into rewarding loyalists, arming proxies across the Middle East, and propping up a corrupt system. But now that flow has turned into a trickle, and the war has accelerated the breakdown of an economy that was already on life support. Before the first missiles lit up the skies in this intense US-Israeli confrontation with Iran, the country was already bleeding financially. Harsh international sanctions had slashed Iran's oil exports to roughly 1.5 million barrels per day. By late 2025, less than half of pre-2018 levels. That massive revenue loss hit like a body blow. At the same time, foreign investors fled, major industries stalled, and the Iranian rial collapsed dramatically, losing nearly 95% of its value in recent years. By early 2026, the currency had plunged to record lows, trading at over 1.4 million rials to the US dollar on the open market. Inflation exploded, surging past 50% in mid-2025 and climbing towards 68 to 72% in key sectors like food this year. Ordinary Iranians felt the pain every single day, skyrocketing prices for bread, fuel, and medicine. Paychecks that bought less and less, and a deep, quiet despair that life under the mullahs was only getting worse. The ongoing war has pushed this fragile system over the edge. Strikes have damaged infrastructure, forced emergency spending on defenses, and tightened sanctions even further, choking off whatever limited cash flows remained. Iran's foreign reserves, once exceeding $120 billion a decade ago, have plummeted to dangerous levels, around 20 to 30 billion or even lower in accessible funds. Without those buffers, the regime struggles to defend its currency, stabilize markets, or cushion the blows of endless inflation. Even rising global oil prices offered little relief because US and allied efforts disrupted export routes, shadowed tankers, and blocked normal payments. The mullahs could not fully cash in on the windfall, while their shadow fleet and illicit networks faced constant pressure. Every drone launched, every missile fired in response, and every shipment sent to allied groups drained billions more from an already empty treasury. The regime is caught in a vicious trap. Massive spending on the battlefield while income remains strangled. One of the clearest danger signals came from the banking sector, which is now in free fall. Late in 2025, Ayande Bank, one of Iran's largest private lenders, collapsed under the weight of nearly $5 billion in toxic losses. This was no ordinary failure. The bank had funneled enormous sums into insider projects, including the extravagant Iran Mall in Tehran, the so-called largest shopping complex in the world, which became a symbol of elite excess rather than real economic value. High interest rates offered to attract deposits created a Ponzi-like cycle that finally burst. Pause for a second and ask yourself, when a soldier no longer receives a paycheck because the banks have collapsed and 11,000 drones are hunting overhead, will they fight for an ideology or will they fight to survive? In your opinion, which domino falls first? Iran's banking system or the Kremlin's defensive lines? Comment bank or drone below. The answer in the next segment will shock you. When Ayande went down, the regime desperately shifted its massive liabilities onto Bank Melli, the giant state-owned bank. On paper, it looked like a rescue. In reality, it only concentrated the risk and weakened the entire financial foundation further. The central bank printed money to cover the holes which supercharged inflation and sent the rial spiraling even lower. Other major banks, including those tied closely to the Revolutionary Guard like SIPA, remain under severe strain with bad loans, corruption and hidden losses piling up. When banks stop functioning properly, lending dries up, businesses cannot operate, imports slow to a crawl, and prices surge higher, squeezing every household. This financial meltdown is happening while the regime continues pouring scarce resources into its war machine and proxy network. Hezbollah alone receives close to $700 million annually. Hamas gets around $100 million. The Houthis and various militias in Iraq and Syria have absorbed hundreds of millions more in weapons training and cash. Since 2012, Iran has funneled well over $16 billion into this axis of resistance, using these groups to project power, threaten shipping lanes, and strike at enemies without direct confrontation. If 150,000 targets can evaporate in a single night, how long will it take for Iran's remaining $20 billion in foreign reserves to turn into ash? We are standing on the edge of a tactical extinction event. Do you believe 2026 will be the final year we see the world map as it exists today? Do not look away, because the final figure I'm about to reveal will decode exactly why the mullahs are looking for an escape route right now. But every dollar sent abroad is a dollar not used to fix crumbling roads, failing power grids, or hospitals running short on supplies inside Iran. The contrast is stark and fueling growing anger. While the mullahs fund distant conflicts and lavish projects for the elite, ordinary Iranians face delayed wages, empty shelves, and rolling blackouts. The 2022 Woman Life Freedom protests after the death of Mahsa Amini showed the regime's brutality in cracking down, killing hundreds. That defiance never fully died. It simmered through 2025 and reignited with currency crashes and bread price spikes. Bazaars and universities erupted again. Meanwhile, Iran's best and brightest are voting with their feet. Over 120,000 students study abroad now, a number that has doubled in recent years. More than 4 million Iranians live overseas, and surveys show 6 out of 10 university graduates dream of joining them. Doctors, engineers, and young talent are leaving in droves, robbing the country of the very people who could rebuild it. What do you think happens when a regime loses not only its money, but also its future generation? Does that accelerate the end? Or can the clerics somehow cling to power through pure force? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. I read every serious one and reply to the best. The mullahs' responses reveal their true priorities. Protect elite wealth at all costs. They print more rials to cover deficits, which destroys purchasing power and crushes families. They shuffle budgets to shield Revolutionary Guard-linked companies and security forces while cutting health and education spending. Structural problems run deep, heavy reliance on oil that sanctions have crippled corruption that drains up to 30% of public contracts, and a political system that blocks real reforms because any genuine change would threaten clerical control. When this war eventually winds down, there will be no easy reset. Reconstruction will demand resources Iran simply does not have. Reserves are depleted, banks are hollowed out. Sanctions will linger and investor confidence is shattered. The end of fighting will expose the regime's bankruptcy even more brutally. The clerics will face a furious population that has endured years of economic pain, repression, and now sees their leaders broke and exposed. History offers chilling parallels. In Romania in 1989, a seemingly stable dictatorship collapsed almost overnight when the army refused to keep shooting civilians. Similar sudden shifts happened elsewhere when financial and military pillars cracked. In Iran, the IRGC has been the enforcer. But if funding falters and loyalty wavers, that pillar could crumble too. Without money to pay salaries, buy loyalty, or fund repression, fear loses its grip. And when fear fades, long-suppressed anger can erupt with stunning speed. The battlefield may fall quiet, but the real reckoning will explode from within. The same clerics who grew rich while the nation suffered will find their overseas fortunes frozen or scrutinize their domestic system collapsing and their tools of control evaporating. This is not just a military conflict. It is a comprehensive unraveling where the power of money and sustained economic pressure may prove far more decisive than missiles alone. The U.S. decision to freeze around $120 billion in Iranian assets stands at the center of this financial war. Is it a necessary move to protect global peace by starving a terror-sponsoring regime of funds? Or does it cross into aggressive financial warfare? Many see it as smart leverage that prevents the mullahs from funding more chaos. Others debate the humanitarian ripple effects. What is your take? Should economic tools like asset freezes be used more aggressively against regimes that threaten stability? Or do they risk pushing desperate leaders toward even riskier actions? Let me know below. The strongest opinions get a direct reply. Right now, the mullahs are staring at a nightmare scenario: a hollowed-out economy at home, disrupted proxy funding abroad, and a population that has waited years for change. When the cash finally runs completely dry, the popcorn is on because the internal show is only beginning. The clerics built their rule on a mix of ideology, fear, and cash. Strip away the cash and the whole structure wobbles dangerously. The world is moving faster than ever. If you don't want to be the last to know about the death of currency empires or the rise of lethal drone swarms, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell now. We provide the intelligence data the algorithm tries to hide. Don't just be a spectator, be the one who understands history before it happens. Will you stand with the truth or be left behind? This economic collapse accelerated by relentless pressure, and the ongoing conflict could mark the beginning of the end for a regime that has defied the world for decades. Stay tuned. The story is far from over, and the twists ahead will be explosive. Disclaimer: this video contains content generated or supported in whole or in part by artificial intelligence. This material is intended solely for simulation, illustration, and entertainment purposes. It does not represent real-world events, nor does it constitute political or military advice or verified information. Certain elements may be fictional, dramatized, or inaccurate. Viewers should not rely on this video as a credible source of information or as a basis for real-world decision-making.